Well, hello, my beloved Soul Seeker Youest You listeners. This is Julie, as you know, and holy mackerel, you guys are in for an incredible, very special treat today. So you're going to want to listen to who I'm going to be introducing you to because it's quite amazing to understand Howard's background. And then you're going to get to hear from him. And I have so many questions. It's going to be great. Howard Martin is one of the original leaders who helped Doc Childre found HeartMath. In 1999, he co-authored the HeartMath Solution published by HarperSanFrancisco, and he has been with HeartMath's worldwide training and consulting team since its inception in 1991. In 2016, he went on to co-author Heart Intelligence. He is also the producer of 2 award-winning musical recordings, including Doc Childre's Heart Zones, which spent 50 consecutive weeks on Billboard Magazine's music charts. In 2019, he produced a video-based learning experience, the HeartMath Experience. During his career with HeartMath, he has been instrumental in business development and in delivering HeartMath's practical yet very dynamic programs to thousands of participants worldwide. Because of his universal appeal, he has conducted training programs and keynote presentations in Fortune 100 companies, government agencies, all 4 branches of the U.S. military, school systems, ecumenical organizations, and through publicly promoted events in over 75 cities and on 4 continents. He is a member of Transformational Leadership Council, an exclusive organization made up of well-known authors and acknowledged leaders in the field of personal and organizational development, and he is a member of the Evolutionary Leaders, an organization founded by Deepak Chopra, comprised of many of the world's most respected visionary leaders. In 2008, he played a key role in launching the Global Coherence Initiative and serves as a steering committee member for the science-based project created to unite millions of people in heart-focused care and intentions to shift global consciousness. Howard is a key HeartMath spokesperson, conducting approximately 75 media interviews annually. He speaks internationally on developing new intelligence needed to navigate life during changing times. He is featured in many current documentary movies, including The Power of the Heart, The Amazing You, The Truth, and The Living Matrix. We are going to get to talk to Howard today. You're going to get to just really see what an incredible human being this is. And I just want to say that, Howard, the minute I heard you, first of all, you're funny, beyond funny, and got to know you and meet you, I just was blown away. And I'm so honored to have you today. Thank you for all that you're doing with HeartMath in our world.
Well, Julie, thanks for having me. It's really fun to do an interview with one of my favorite people. I want to thank you for having me. I want to thank everybody who's right now giving their time and attention to listening to our conversation. And hopefully there'll be some things that we talk about that people will benefit from and take forward into their lives.
Amazing. Thank you. And I have to just say, this wasn't in your bio, but can you just tell people for 1 second about your musical background? I'm like a huge fan of the band you were part of. I mean, I don't know, I don't want to embarrass you, but like, that's pretty darn amazing.
Well, it's a different lifetime, really. If you think about it, I've been thinking about it a lot lately. For some reason, about that whole part of my life for a long time. That that 15 years or so. Then when music was how I made a living as a drummer, and I had an amazing ride through all of that. And some of it was good, some of it wasn't. But it was an amazing ride nonetheless. So I got to play with a whole lot of different people, and in and out of a lot of different bands. I got fired a lot. So I had a pretty varied career, and there was times when I was playing with Bob Seger, and I was in and around and sort of in and out of Lynyrd Skynyrd twice, and so there's lots of different things that happened to me along the way. I think what it did for me is it gave me a real great life experience. When I was thinking about it recently about many of the things that I went through, I realized how much learning there was in that. Sometimes hard learning. But there was a lot that I gained from understanding people, understanding humanity, and understanding myself that I think still carries forward today, even though music seems like a distant memory, like somebody else's life. It still feels like it contributed something to who I am today and what I'm doing today.
It's amazing. Well, I'm a huge Lynyrd Skynyrd fan. We don't usually talk. It's funny. I feel very dated saying that, but and Bob Seger. So that's so cool. And I'm imagining just what an incredible opportunity to just see life from many different lenses and many stages, I'm sure.
Well,
Yeah.
there's some other parts of it too. So, in my memory of it, a lot of the things that came back up when did I really do that? Did I really go through that? Was I really in and around that kind of an environment? And how did I survive?
Yeah.
Think about Lynyrd Skynyrd. Most everyone that was in that band that was an original, except one person now, is deceased. And I watched them all come and go. And here I am today, feeling vital, alive, energized, no ceiling on my life, all that. I'm a very fortunate human being.
Let's actually let's, it's a great segue to just talk about being vibrant and alive and the work that you're doing around, this heart activation, around global coherence. I think for those that, are newer to this terminology, can you share a little bit about, what got you into HeartMath? And we'll just start there, kind of what got you into it, what it is, and then we'll go from there.
Well, HeartMath is an outgrowth of a lot of years of work. I mean, when I was young, in the midst of the rock and roll debauchery, I did have an interest in spiritual and personal growth. I've read the books and I was studying various things and trying to put those practices into my life. I met Doc Childre, who is the founder of HeartMath, when I was very young. He's just 4 years older than me, but when I met him, it was obvious that he had an intelligence and awareness that was, embracing mine. We became friends. He helped me a lot through my life, and we bonded. And it was not just myself and Doc, but others. And what we did was we just took our friendships and maintained them, and we kept using our personal growth as the anchor point. We were working together to try to be better people. And we did that in obscurity for 15 years. We didn't have a name for this. It wasn't HeartMath. It wasn't any of that. Matter of fact, we didn't even have the ambition to be anything like what HeartMath is today. It just wasn't in our thinking. We were just trying to expand our own awareness and consciousness and be better people. Over time, we did enough of that we began to realize that we had something that could be shared. It should not be shared from an ambition thing where we were trying to be to be somebody or make it a big deal, but that if we had experienced some things in our life that had been beneficial and the world was going through the changes it was going through, then maybe we had a responsibility, not an ambition, to begin to share that. So in 1991, we formed HeartMath with people we met in California that had a similar vision. We started with very little at that time. We didn't have investment dollars. We didn't have big business plans. We didn't have those normal ingredients in starting an organization. What we did have was a really deep desire to help other people and a belief that it was through the intelligence of the heart, which we had discovered along the way, that we could do that. So we started out small. It grew and grew and grew. Science played a big role in that. Business played a big role in that. There were many things along the way that went our way. And today we're what I call a big little organization, meaning we're a small organization, but we employ about 100 people. We have a huge global footprint. That's the most amazing thing about it, is how many people all around the world know of us and have benefited from our work. Untold millions, actually. It's not something we can calculate. And it's continuing on. I mean, we're in a growth cycle right now at HeartMath. Nothing is static here. We are changing. We're coming up with new services, new products, new programs, new infrastructure, new people. Lots and lots of things are happening for us as I'm sitting here doing this interview with you. So what got me into it was just a steady progression of trying to be a better person. And that led to this role I have today in HeartMath as an executive and a spokesperson. But, to use an old saying, a very simplistic saying, but one that has a lot of depth and meaning when you dig into it, all I've been doing all these years is listening to and following my heart.
That's so well said. Perfect. That's perfect way to say it. I love it. It's true. It's totally true. Yeah. It's just amazing to me. It's amazing to me, this idea that you guys had in the late 80s, early 90s, what you've been able to do and how you've grown it, and then to find the science behind it. Many people really, I think, need that to understand and believe in heart intelligence. Can you give like the quick overview of heart intelligence, what that means? And I mean, we know where to find it, obviously, in our heart. But.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll be glad to. I mean, there's this place inside that's our true authentic self. It's beyond the normal personality that we assume that we are, where we've built up these images and perceptions of what it is we are. It's something deeper than that. It's the real us. It's a place inside that we often go to for self-security. And when times are tough, where do we go? I mean, people, reach situations in life where there's no logical linear way to deal with it, and they dig a little deeper, and what they're really looking for is that comfort that comes from the heart. Heart intelligence is intuitive. It's a very high speed type of intelligence. It moves faster than just the speed of thought, resulting in more of a direct knowingness. Heart intelligence is also that part of us that gives birth to the emotional qualities that are the most beneficial, the ones that regenerate us physically, emotionally, and mentally the most. And there are emotional qualities we all know of, like more care, more compassion, more kindness, more patience, those type of heart qualities, and certainly love. And heart intelligence gives birth to those type of emotional qualities. When you add all that up, it's an essential intelligence that gives us the guidance that we need to navigate life, that provides us with the most fulfillment as we go through this adventure called life. And I guess one of the simplest ways of saying what I've learned about it is that my heart's intelligence is my own best friend.
Yeah.
It's the most reliable guide that I ever have for making any decisions, big or small, that I need to make in life. So everybody has this intelligence. We were born with it. What happens is through the process of living in the education systems and all that, we sort of lose contact with it at times, and we begin to live life from the neck up. And when that happens, we get cut off from that real authentic self, and life gets tougher. The good news is that the road home is shorter than we might think. And that's what HeartMath is about. Is the tools, techniques, methods, technology, and science to help us make that journey back home to that place inside we call heart intelligence. Pause it right here a second, Julie. Yep.
So maybe you can share a little bit of the science kind of backing of this. That would be helpful.
Yeah, what I said about heart intelligence is great, but it's certainly in many ways a philosophical view of what that intelligence is. When we started HeartMath and we were going to put a heart-based system into the world that we wanted to have mainstream impact, we figured that we better do it a little differently, because heart's nothing new. It's been talked about for thousands of years in the most glowing ways, and yet it still was being looked at as soft or squishy, or something that didn't have as much of a relevance in high-speed modern living. We needed a bridge between the philosophical and intuitive understanding of heart and where people were. We chose science to be that bridge, because in our world, science carries a lot of weight. When something is proven to be true through empirical science, the power of belief increases tremendously. So we chose science as the bridge. Now, we started out trying to look at what was happening in the physical heart. We knew there was an intelligence, we had experienced it. What was going on in the physical heart? Everybody knows the heart is an organ that pumps blood, but was there more? And it was interesting, Julie, we found that scattered throughout the research literature was all these references to the heart acting differently, to it having a mind of its own. There was interesting facts that we just didn't know that were out there in the public domain, but nobody was aware of them. Like, for instance, in 1983, the heart was reclassified as being a hormonal gland as well as a cardiovascular organ, because it produces a number of important hormones. Who knew that, right? So our scientists found that information and then began to do their own research and studies. And what they found in essence was that the heart is an information processing center in our bodies. Your heart is sending information to your brain and throughout your entire system. And this information going from heart to brain to body is critical information. So the heart is sending information throughout your entire system. That was a big revelation. We understood the mechanisms of how it did it, through a nervous system in the heart, through the blood pressure wave, through the hormones, the energetic field that the heart produces. We understood all of that and published a lot of research on that. To date, there are over 400 peer-reviewed research papers, independent studies done with HeartMath. A huge body of research understanding that. So that was the genesis of it, really. The research has gone further into social and global coherence now, but what we did was recast an understanding of what heart is at a physiological level. So people that have written about us have said things like, when HeartMath introduced this work, it introduced not only a new view of physiology, but also a new view of psychology at the same time. So it was simultaneous in what we did there. What that did was give people the ability to believe in something that they kind of wanted to believe in anyway.
Yeah.
They want to follow their hearts, but no, better not, or no, that would be seen as weak, or I can't do that in my company, or I can't do that, I'm a soldier. You know, it's like those kind of things. But when the science was applied to it, it opened up a whole new world of accessibility for us to be able to have this type of conversation in very, very mainstream context.
Yeah.
And that was the mission all along. We didn't want our version of heart to be another philosophical tenet out of California.
Right.
It had to have that groundedness to it that could reach the masses.
Incredible. And I know you've done this work, as you said, in the military, in the government. I mean, these are places obviously where, you know, the California theoretical would not fly. It's so amazing. I know that there is a film coming out that you've put together. Can you tell us a little bit about the film? And I know you have courses and just kind of what's to come this year and beyond.
Well, thanks for asking. That was a really fun and passionate program for me in 2019. And what it is a film, but it's also a course. It's a combination of elements. It's called the HeartMath Experience. The reason we wanted to create it is we realized that HeartMath has a lot to offer, but it can look kind of complex to people. You know, it's just like, where do I enter this thing? You know, called HeartMath. They have science, they have technology, they have all these certification training programs and all this stuff. But how do I just get an experience of it? So we wanted to create a better, I'll just call it a front door into HeartMath. And so we decided that we didn't want it to feel like a course. Who wants to take another course? Sometimes you do, but that sounds like work. We recognize too, in today's world, people want a certain level of entertainment value. They want things to be visual. They want things to have that type of visceral impact as they take their time to experience anything. And so what we put together was a course, which is 9 chapters long, about 90 minutes of content. It covers an understanding of heart intelligence, some of the science, 5 key HeartMath techniques that we have in all of our training programs that are experiential. And we filmed it like a movie. So that it has that visual impact. It's beautiful. It's stunning. When you experience a technique, you feel it. You know, you really get the sensation of doing that technique. So it came out really good, and we've just getting ready to launch it. It'll be launched later in the month of January. It's already being featured in the Illumina Film Festival. We are just Gaia, the big, transformational network of content, is taking it. They will be releasing it in April. It's going to be big. A lot of people are going to see this, and we've made it relatively inexpensive. So it's not a barrier to entry to get the access to this material. We want it to be shared. We want it to be seen by a lot of people around the world. It's not only a business project for us, it's a mission project. How do we reach more people with what we've developed here in a way that they can afford it, in a way that they can experience it, so that they actually feel it and then are motivated to take it forward in their life. So I did that last year. It was a blast to do. It was magical the way it all unfolded, and I couldn't be happier about it. And now I have the fun of 2 things: the fun of promoting it, being a part of its unfoldment, shepherding it into the world, and also creating new courses to follow it up.
So fantastic. Yeah, I know when we met at the summit, the Elevating Global Consciousness Summit in Tulum. And I remember one of the techniques, which I'm assuming will be in there. I think it was the freeze frame technique that we did. I mean, all of them that we did were so powerful. What I love is that they're so accessible and user-friendly. And I love what you said. This is like the front door into HeartMath, because I think it can seem like, where do I begin? And I'm excited to see this. I'm going to hopefully be at the Illuminate Film Festival in Sedona in February. If those are listening or interested, I'm sure there's still tickets, and just so amazing that you guys are getting this out. I love the mission. You know, this is, we all have a heart. So
that's right. Well, freeze frame's in the HeartMath Experience, and just an interesting story. I worked with a company in Mexico City that was my partners, production partners. They were these young, super creative people, and they were just amazing at what they shot and did a lot of things. And they shot a section on the freeze frame technique, and they were using some actors, and they didn't really capture what I wanted. And so I was in Mexico City, and I told them, we got to the editing, we were doing the editing. I said, "This is not working for me." And they said, "Okay, let's get Isabel over here. Let's use another one of the people that they use as an actor." They're non-speaking roles, but they portrayed some things amazingly. So they called her up and said, "Can you come by our place?" And we were just in their funky little production studio place. We found a little corner. It looked pretty good. We set up cameras in there, and I sat there, and you don't hear me, but when that technique is being filmed, I'm actually leading her through it. So it's happening in real time.
Wow.
Her experience that you see on camera is real, with her actually going through the technique and doing it while I'm coaching her through it. So it conveys that energy again. You have somebody really experiencing it, that they're capturing that on camera. And that translates, I think, into what the viewer feels when they watch it. So the freeze frame technique was just was one that, we filmed it twice, and the second time we did it, I was right there doing it with her real time.
That's awesome. Oh, that's so cool. I can't wait to see it. I'm sure everyone listening, you'll just keep your eyes open for that part, for the whole thing, but that part. What, I have some questions for you that kind of go more into the spiritual realm. And I would love to talk to you. I know this could be like a black hole of questions, so I'm going to try to manage myself on this one. But, I know one of the things you talked about was just, and you spoke about this too at the Best Year Ever Blueprint Conference in San Diego, about just kind of getting a sense of what your gathering is going to be, what we can have some ideas of what to expect in this world in the next few years, decades, and from there maybe going, even if we have time, into the idea of different dimensions on this planet and what that means.
Oh, the dimensional conversation. We never finished that one, did we?
I know. This is like my favorite topic, so I figured those that are listening, you get to listen now and learn. Because
we get to that when we were at the event last month. We'll have to get that one later. I'll be able to touch on that. First of all, I get asked the question all the time. I talk about a new world emerging in the midst of the old one, and I go to the question of what's the new world going to be like?
Yeah.
The honest answer that I have for that is I really don't know. And the reason I don't know is because my feeling is, and it's a strong feeling supported by a lot of observation, is that it's something we've never seen in our world before. It's not what we have today just with new clothes on it. It's a dimensional shift in how this world functions. Consciousness itself, which we draw from to construct what we call reality, is actually morphing and changing. As consciousness is changing, it's changing what we are receiving, and it's changing our perceptions. That filters down into our individual perceptions about ourselves, about life, about each other. It filters into systems that govern society. It filters down into every aspect of what we experience here on planet Earth. So that's changing, and it's happening at very, very high speed. So we are living in a time period, a window of time, where we are experiencing a dimensional shift in consciousness in our world. Now that's creating a tremendous amount of chaos. Massive amounts of change happening in a short amount of time don't necessarily make things easy as we go through it. Right. So you see things like such an increase in polarization, this side or that side. Yep. You see all the world's problems in full view, all the inequities that are going on, all the human suffering that exists on planet Earth is being fully exposed right now. In our personal lives, I think many of us are feeling, this change is happening that we don't understand. Sometimes they feel challenging. Old ways of doing things are not working as well anymore. Ways in which we perceived ourselves at times are beginning to erode or crumble. We don't necessarily feel like we're on solid footing, and there's a sense of uncertainty that I get from people in every group that I speak to around the world. I sense that angst and that uncertainty. And it gets to the point for many people where they feel like the world is actually going in the really wrong direction, and they were headed towards apocalyptic scenarios. I don't believe that. I think that there are hundreds and hundreds of millions of people around the world who have changed, who are shifted, who are continuing to grow. People like yourself, people like that are listening to the podcast right now, that are on another side of the change equation. And that enough has been done that we've passed apocalyptic scenarios. So I think we have some hard road to walk. I think we're going to see more challenges, more problems, more issues. But I think that will begin to subside in the not too distant future, not too far down the road. We'll begin to see that ease up some. Because what I really believe is that despite the ups and downs that we are seeing in the world, that the trajectory is actually headed in the right direction. This shift in consciousness that will change the way this world functions is inevitable. Yeah. It's going to happen whether we like it or not. And I think, as I said, maybe at the Best Year Ever conference that we were at together not long ago, is that we control two things. We control how fast it happens through the choices that we make, and we also have some input over how kind and gentle a process it can be or not. That's what we can do, what humanity can do. The inevitability is there. We're going to change. We can make it fast, we can make it slow, we can make it harder, we can make it easier. But the world is changing, and it's changing in right in this time in which we're all alive. So it's a cool place to be, despite the challenges that we face. So if you're listening to this now, just let me offer you that as a hopeful understanding, and to just feel solid in yourself, to recognize there's going to be ups and downs, there's going to be changes. But at the end of the day, you and the rest of humanity are going to be in a much better place.
Thank you for the encouragement. Because
yeah.
I do, just to add, I'm not an expert in this, but I do believe that, we're in a world where you have to have polarization to be able to, how can you know what you want until you know what you don't want? And I think that polarization, I'm one of the few where I actually think it can be a good thing, because it can bring to light everything that is not working. That's what I'm hearing today. Really helpful. How do you see HeartMath being a part of this global shift in consciousness? How do you envision, how would you like to see HeartMath really kind of infusing our world so that we can all uplift together? I have my tea mug today. It says, "We rise by uplifting others." How do you see HeartMath doing that? What is your dream, your vision for the next 5, 10, 20 years, 30 years?
First of all, the design and implementation of HeartMath is really, directed by our founder, Doc Childre, and constantly reinforced by him, is that we're designed to be a friendly facilitator. We're not designed to be the big thing. We're not designed to be the system that everybody has to do. Yeah. We're designed to add into things. I just remembered something. I'll tell you and the viewers a quick story. Many years ago, I was brought in to do a presentation for the executives of Halliburton, the big evil Empire Oil, company.
Oh, wow.
And these guys were like good old boys. They didn't even look like CEOs. They were like good old boys in there. And they were listening to me talk. And I talked for a couple of hours, these guys. And finally, one of them leaned back in his chair and he said, "Hell, son, I know what HeartMath's all about." He said, "You're not the car. You ain't even the gas. You're the STP. You make everything else run better." The friendly facilitator. So in essence, so what I would say is, when you add heart to something, you never lose. And so what we're designed to do is to provide new understandings of ourselves, new understandings of the power and intelligence of heart, which is part of the evolutionary imperative of our time, and to make that available so that people can have access to it. I was asked in an interview one time what HeartMath's biggest contribution to the world had been. I didn't have a ready answer, but what came out was we have confirmed other people's belief systems. How many people draw from our work? How many other speakers talk about HeartMath? How many other people write about HeartMath? How many other people use our research to support what they are saying in their books or their talks or whatever? And that's okay, because that's being a friendly facilitator. So in the future, again, we have to take it, a step at a time. We have been seeing growth go on. We're seeing big growth happening right now. Where that leads, I don't really know. I think, companies used to do these 3 to 5 year strategic plans. That's a joke now. You're lucky to be able to put together a strategic plan for 1 year. So we just keep following the flow and following, where we feel we're going to be a best service, and running a business with a mature understanding of what running a business means. And we just take it step at a time, day by day. I think that we've already made a big contribution, and I think that contribution will continue. One of the things that I do believe is even when, let's say I'm not here and the founders of HeartMath aren't here, that there'll be a living legacy of the work that we've done that can help people for future generations. For that, I'm very proud and also very grateful. And I think that what we're doing moment to moment, day by day here is having an impact on the world that we know in this moment in time and will have a lasting impact. And to have a job, so to speak, that has those components and elements into it on the backside of a whole other career in music and that whole thing, this life is magical for me.
Yeah.
I could never appreciate enough what's happened to me as a human, as Howard Martin. It's been phenomenal and continues to be so.
Well, I just appreciate and acknowledge you. I love your appreciation of your life and how it's unfolded. It's pretty amazing when you just kind of comb through all the different things that you've been a part of. And I could just imagine to look back and see the impact of what HeartMath is doing and to come. We, for those listening in, we also got to hear Debbie, your wife, who's is as involved in HeartMath. And I think, one of the things I'm grateful for is both of you tuned into your heart wisdom, bringing in John Berghoff with Exchange and Havel. Then I'm, through that connection, I mean, right away, I felt this like, oh my gosh, I just love you both. And it was, I've learned at this point in my life, I don't care if that looks silly or weird, or if I seem like totally high touchy feely. I'm like, I just go for it when I feel it's a safe space.
That's right.
To do that. And it was received. And you can tell you live by your heart wisdom. You can breathe.
Well, that's a good example, Julie, of the dimensional shift. What if people all could feel that way? When you feel the heart resonance, it doesn't matter. You don't play it by the same social rules or mores. You and I can relate to one another with love.
Yep.
And respect and with fun and all that. And we don't have to know about each other's backgrounds or where, the whole story to get there. It can be much quicker than that because we're really resonating heart to heart. And the world's moving in that direction. The separations, despite the polarization, the separations are beginning to dissolve. People are able to come together in new and different ways in the spirit of cooperation. And you can have that type of resonance with people. If you open your heart to them, you'll find that sometimes, that's all it takes. And you make some new friends pretty quick that way.
Totally. Well, I'm a big stand for this type of living, because I'll tell you what, just when I made the decision to do that and not care what people think, it's like life becomes magical. It really does. It really does. And
I know you've got your own story and your own journey, and that got you to where you are today. You're a beautiful soul and beautiful light in this world, and what you're doing in your work, and even taking the time to host a podcast like this is an act of service. It shows that you care, and this isn't about you. This is about you trying to get information to other people. So big props to you as well for doing that, and for taking the time to to put up with a hillbilly with a southern with a
Oh, I love it. I love your accent. I couldn't try to do it if I could. It would not sound like you, but it is awesome. And well, thank you for what you said. This work is so important to me, and to get the word out about what you guys have created and are doing with HeartMath, that we all have this ability to unlock and live in our heart, resonance. And it's something, my prayer is that every human being gets to experience it. And I just could only imagine what would happen if we all really tuned in and listened. That's kind of the big vision I got over here. And I just figured you're the ones you're not just facilitating. I mean, you've created this incredible community, information, just ability to really tune into our natural, brilliant, magical resource. So I thank you.
Okay, cool. Well, we've got Mutual Admiration Society going here. So let's thank again everybody for listening to this. Hopefully you've had fun listening to Julie and I have a conversation, and that you learn some things you'll carry forward. We can't cover it all here. Go to heartmath.com or heartmath.org or the usual route. Follow us on Facebook. There's about 1 million people that do on Facebook. So follow us there and find out more and check it out. There's a world of HeartMath, and be on the lookout for the HeartMath Experience. that's a way in which you can have your own experience of HeartMath and then decide for yourself if there's more here that we have done that could be useful to you.